So I could see them getting divorced. Let me show you why. First off, please excuse the way I look. I literally feel like I'm dying. So Offset posted this on his story, which is just funny, and was accusing Cardi B of cheating on him. Literally, just Google it if you want the backstory. I don't think it's that juicy, and I'm too lazy to explain all of it. Cardi B went on to defend herself, and she was like, I can't sleep with somebody who's not famous, and I can't sleep with somebody who is famous because both those people are gonna run their mouths. The women of the internet are like, she should, because he's supposedly cheated on her like multiple times. I shouldn't say supposedly, like he has. A lot of funny memes, both old and new, have come out of this. But immediately upon looking at Cardi B's chart, I was like, oh, there's like a lot going on here. I thought it would just be like a little, scuffle, a little hiccup, but there's like a lot of really big things happening for her, pretty painful things, or at least triggering. Also, Cardi B publicly acknowledged this, like she did a recording thing on Twitter that was like, no, that didn't happen. So it was pretty quickly like nipped in the bud. We don't have the best in the world reliability that this is her birth time, but pretty much all the planets are going to be in the right spot, in terms of sign at least. So immediately the first thing I notice off the bat is Chiron is conjunct her natal moon. Chiron itself embodies like triggers and wounds and sensitivities. It's often referred to as the wounded healer, meaning it does give you the opportunity to heal something, but usually through the vessel of triggering you first. And your moon is going to be your emotions, but it's also home and family and motherhood and womanhood and your emotions. So when we have something like Chiron go over our moon, it can really trigger those things, and it can really pick at things like familial trauma, emotional trauma, sensitivities within children or your own motherhood, being a mother, your own mother, maternal things. At the very worst, like pain, emotional pain. So immediately I was like, ouch. Then we look at her natal Chiron, which is in the 5th house of romance and children, entertainment, talent. She also has it in Leo, which literally rules children. And of course, that's being triggered at the same time too. We have Venus, Mars, that conjunction right over her natal Chiron. Mars is the one that we're kind of worried about. Venus going over your Chiron in any direction can sometimes soften up what is typically very triggering. It can lean more into that, oh, okay, this is getting a little bit better, this is healing sort of aspect. Whereas Mars tends to aggravate it and kind of be quite harsh or blunt in ripping up those wounds. These two things together is kind of like reopening a scab, like opening a wound and pouring salt in it. Because it has to do a lot with what feels like home, family, mom, emotions, and then children and romance, those two things, I'm like, can it just be that this little romantic fluke happened and he thinks that she cheated on her? Yes. But I'm low-key like, is there a secret kid in the picture? Is there a pregnancy? Is there like a blooming divorce in the works? Pluto is teetering here right on the edge of her 10th house of career and the 11th house of dreams, manifestations, being in the public eye. It's in a supportive aspect to her Jupiter and her 7th house of relationships, but Jupiter, despite the fact that it's a benefic and it wants to give us good things, it can inflate things. It can make them bigger even if they're inherently bad, with Pluto being the dismantling of power and control dynamics and what we're powerless to, and kind of breaking beyond and destroying a foundation that was never too stable to begin with, altering her career, the way that the public sees her, and then in correlation to her relationships. Interesting, profound. There could be a lot of transformation there. Mercury is also going through the private area of her chart regarding home and family, and that's in a square, so a little bit of a friction, sort of uncomfortable, the need to address, change, or make a decision sort of aspect to that same Jupiter in the 7th house of relationships. She has Saturn going through her 12th house. Sometimes that can be having to learn hard karmic lessons around secrets or things that are hidden in private, being kept behind closed doors in your psyche, hidden information. But the big kicker here is that Uranus is directly opposite her natal Venus and Pluto. That is usually very unexpected, right out of left field, breakup, destabilization, shaking the table, unexpected changes, liberating yourself from something. And the 2nd house has to do with your values, what's important to you, what belongs to you, your possessions, and then shared finances and money through things that are maybe more contractual through something like marriage. Shared assets and investments that you have with somebody else, both literally like money and emotionally or metaphorically like trust. And at the same time, Uranus is also in a square directly to that Chiron, that wound, that sensitivity, that trauma that triggers within children, romance, pregnancy. The thing that I'm confused about, though, is that she's the one being accused of cheating. So I'm interested in where the pendulum is swinging, because obviously, what do we have to work with? Offset's story. Like, hello. And we know that there's a million different nuances to that. Like, men sometimes accuse you of cheating when they're cheating. Maybe she thought she could get away with cheating because he has cheated before. Like, I don't know what's going on, right? No one does. So for more context, I know that they supposedly broke up in September of 2020, which I think was not that long after a WAP came out. Didn't it come out in the summer of 2020? I guess the timeline doesn't really matter, but I just feel like whenever Cardi B peaks in fame, success, she gets cheated on or they almost break up or something, and that's very common. I literally made a TikTok about that the other day, that every time a woman is like on her winning streak, the man's gonna mess it up because he's gonna try to tear you down. Let me digress. Mars had recently crossed over her moon, so again causing that aggression, riling it up a little bit. But at the time, Uranus was opposite her 8th house Mercury, which is like communication, details, information, exchanges, usually between things that are happening behind closed doors, secret, taboo, under the radar, because it's in the 8th house. And she had Jupiter, which again is a good planet, is a positive planet, but can inflate things and make them bigger, going over her natal Uranus and Neptune. Uranus again is destabilization, breaking things up, and Neptune being secrets, hidden information, deception, lying, cheating, stealing, things like that. And what do you know? Venus was crossing over her Chiron. You see the similar patterns that we're having here? Then the major first breakup they had, I guess, was right after they had gotten married or done their prenuptials, which was in 2018. This was when Cardi was really like poppin'. There was a Uranus-Venus opposition just in the sky, and Chiron was opposite that natal 7th house Jupiter. Saturn was actually conjoining her midheaven at the time, but sometimes that can be asserting yourself to the public eye, like showing yourself more as a authority figure. Like, she was being taken more seriously at the time. She was really establishing herself as an artist and a performer. Like I said, I really don't feel good, so I probably missed some other good connections there, but I just wanted to get this video out because every time that I sleep on a little idea like this, I see somebody else do it and then I get angry. So I want to say, I think it's a big assumption to say, oh, they're going to get divorced. And I kind of wish I saw this prediction before this happened. Cardi B is one of those people whose charts I just never look at, and I guess I should be. But now that it's after the fact of like a scandal that's already unraveling and probably has already peaked. I think the peak was Offset posting on his story and Cardi B being like, what the fuck? No, I didn't. But to see such similar themes, not necessarily the same exact aspects, but similar themes happening, I am wondering if they would get divorced. And I kind of want Cardi to be single. I know that's selfish. But that Uranus opposite Venus Pluto, like, that's undeniable. That is like the transit that we see when people get divorced or break up. Whenever Uranus aggravates Venus, it's done. And she's going to be having the North Node go into her first house literally in like a week or two. And that's a winning streak for her if she's an Aries rising. But regardless, it's going to go over her moon. Very interesting. What do you guys think?